Hello and welcome once again to another episode of Ukulele Tales, the ukulele podcast hosted by me, John Atkins, aka the ukulele teacher on YouTube. First things first, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who listened last week as we discussed your 2023 ukulele goals. Although the purpose of this podcast when I started it was to chat with all the famous ukulele players that I could find, I've always said that I want to hear from you as well. And it was so exciting to get so much input from you all. I really appreciate you all listening, and I do really appreciate your comments. I have to say, I was actually a bit nervous talking on my own to myself for about 45 minutes without a guest to ask questions to or bounce off, but I think it actually went okay. I wanted to try something new and see if I could actually do a podcast entirely on my own without any guests, and I don't think it was too bad. So thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. But don't worry, we have still got loads and loads of top players to chat to, and I'm constantly collecting great interviews to share with you as well. But it is nice to know that every now and again, I can reach out to you guys for a bit of inspiration, and you'll be there for me with your messages and comments. I'm not sure when, but we will definitely do some more Question of the Week style shows in the future. Anyway, I don't want to ramble on too long this week, as I have an absolutely fantastic guest for you. Seriously, I know the standard of guests has been really, really high so far, and of course I am delighted to have had the chance to speak to people like James Hill and Jake Shimabukuro, but this one is a little bit different. It's a little bit closer to home for me. And as I rather embarrassingly tell him at the start of our chat, today's guest is, and I am being 100% sincere here, a genuine hero of mine. He's someone that I've looked up to musically ever since I was a little kid. In fact, one of my favourite songs as a kid was, and I guess still is today as an adult, You Can Call Me Al, from the Paul Simon album Graceland. And one of the things that made it such a fun and exciting track, even though I didn't necessarily have the musical language to explain it at the time, was the pumping, fretless bass guitar that punctuated not just You Can Call Me Al, but the entire Graceland album. Anyway, I had so many questions that I wanted to ask this guy about his bass playing, his style, and of course, that bass guitar solo from You Can Call Me Al. And don't worry, we do get to all of that stuff later on in the second half of the interview, but it starts off largely bypassing a lot of the questions I had prepared, as I find out Bakithi has just an incredible story to tell. Growing up in poverty in South Africa, not even being able to go to school because it was being used by the army, and then being plucked from obscurity by Paul Simon in the 80s, and being flown to the USA to work on the famous Graceland's album, this is not just a typical rags-to-riches fairy tale, but it's a really important account of how music was one man's gateway to a better life. Bakithi didn't just work on the Graceland's album, he actually toured and recorded with Paul Simon for decades afterwards, and still plays with him and tours to this day. But he still has a deep love for his homeland of South Africa, and talks movingly about returning there one day, maybe even entering the field of politics. It's not for me to say, of course, although you would be very, very welcome to do so. But if I were a journalist, this would be my Pulitzer Prize episode. I'd be submitting it for an award tomorrow. You'll have to excuse me because I do get a little bit starstruck at the beginning of this one, which doesn't usually happen to me. But by the end of it, I think we had a real connection, and I loved chatting so much that I'm hoping that we'll stay in touch and maybe even get together the next time he's in the UK. Well, this has been one long, fawning introduction, but I have to say, genuinely, I mean every single word. Anyway, this is a long interview, and I want to get right to it. So without any further ado, here's me speaking with the legendary bass player, and that's not just bass guitar, of course, but bass ukulele as well, Bakithi Kumalo. Cool. Can you just say your name?
My name is Bakithi Kumalo.
And I can call you Bakithi, is that
Bakithi,
right?
yes.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of questions I wanted to get to with you, and we'll get to them all in good time. But the first thing I want to say, like genuinely, is I'm just a massive fan of Graceland, the album. My mum, I think, got it when I was like a little kid. And so I just grew up having it on in the background all the time. And then when I was old enough to, buy my own records, I bought my own copy. And it's just amazing. So for you to be a part of that and for me to be like chatting with you is like a really cool thing for me.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. And, Graceland is the soundtrack of my life. I played on an album. I became a big part of it. But at the same time, I'm a fan of that record because how it got us recognized by the world, even though, there was some other difficulties with what's going on in South Africa back then. But Paul Simon, by going to South Africa and get these musicians to work with him, it just made us look good. And then for me as a kid, dreaming about coming to America at the age of 8 years old. And, like every time I look at the plane as a kid and look up and say, man, why don't they drop down and just grab me and take me to go to America? There was something about, coming to America. But because I stayed with that plan and is what got me this far, because I never lose focus. I mean, I could have got redirected to different places because of the way the system was. But for me, I stay focused on finding the instrument. And once I got the instrument, I just never let go.
It's really interesting. A few of the things you said there. I mean, firstly, you said it's the soundtrack to your life. And that's fascinating because I kind of think as a musician, maybe you're like recording an album and then you kind of move on to your next project and maybe like not necessarily forget about it, but you're just moving on and doing other things. But like you were telling me in the car earlier, you were in South Africa back in 2012 touring it with the 25th anniversary thing. And I guess there's been other sort of promotional things in between. And you've worked with Paul Simon sort of ever since on and off, haven't you?
Yeah,
as well?
for about, it's been last August 24th, it was the release of the Graceland. So I've been with him since then. But there was other tour that I didn't do, maybe 2 years with the Rhythm of the Saints because I was already engaged with some, other musicians. I couldn't get out of it. And they had another bass player from Cameroon. For me, I play music because I wanted to heal people, not to make money or to have, a fame. I just wanted to save my family that I see them dying as a kid. They had no jobs and they were struggling, lack of food, and the house, we're living in a 4-room house that has 17 people sharing the 4-room house was a dining room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, my grandmother and then whoever the oldest. It was very, very difficult. But for me as a kid, I wanted to save them and have a better life, which is I didn't even know what the better life is, But for music, I just wanted to make sure that my grandmother can eat, my family, can eat, but also play music, play the instrument that I love very much. And learning the bass without having it, that was another issue.
Well, how did that work then? So when did you start playing the bass? Like really young,
I started, my uncle, he played saxophone. He was more responsible for my starting the music. Because every time they practice at home, like every Saturday, when they practice every Saturday, I pay attention. I pay attention and watch him and his band playing. And then once I turned 10, I got very interested. And one of my uncle's bass player got so drunk that he couldn't play. And my uncle asked me if I learned something. And I said, yeah, I learned because I was excited to play the bass. And he got me electric bass. And since then, people love what I was doing. I was smiling a lot, even making a lot of mistakes. But because, I guess I was good looking. So people, they just love my good looking and they didn't care about my notes. But really that got me really exciting because I knew that the system was so broken that people, they live in their own direction. If you have a bad direction, then that's your own good directions for good people. So, I just kind of figured out I have to do something about this. Stay away from drugs, alcohol, just stay focused keep their eyes on the prize until 1985 when Paul Simon came to South Africa.
I mean, what's amazing about what you've just said, and it's like a really inspirational story, but we just came from doing a school assembly together.
This morning, yes.
And you told the kids that you didn't go to school yourself. Is that true?
That is true. That is correct, because first of all, the schools were occupied by the army. Is, you know, because in South Africa, you know, like it was chaotic during that time, and so you couldn't go to the school with broken glass windows, and this, you know, it was not a good place to land. So the safest place was to be home. Most kids, they did that, unless you come from a good family, a wealthy family, that they can send you to boarding school or private school, you know. But growing up in the township, lack of food, how are you going to go to school? You can.
Yeah, right. There's more important things. I mean, you've got to feed yourself and look after your family and stuff, right?
I tell you, and this is something that really created a lot of danger on some young people, because when there's no school, you're hungry. What comes to your mind is steal, robbery. Kids robbing and stealing, you know, because they got to eat. You don't feed them, they're going to die. So they're going to have to take from somebody, and just a mess, that the problem that could solve, but, you know, the government is not paying attention on the people.
Yeah. Something you spoke about in the car, I'm not sure if you were kidding or not, but you said, well, you're close to retirement age, right? I don't know how old you are, but you said in like 3 or 4 years you want to quit playing the bass, right?
I want to quit. I will. I should say. I should not say I want to. I will quit at 70 years old. I'm 66 now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm thinking 4 years from now, I want to be a speaker, and I want to come back to my country, to South Africa, and then the rest of the world in African, you know, and say, look, you know, I've never been to school. Today I got awards, and I'm, you know, playing on some Grammy-winning records and platinum, gold, and I've seen the world multiple times. So I think that can happen to you if you think the way I think.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's to go back and help the government and help the people to understand, because they really don't understand how I got to this far.
Yeah.
You know, I had, you know, like I had a lot of friends, you know, bass players, drummers. We all playing together, but they never understand what I was thinking as I'm playing with them. Because for me, it was about, I want to be good. I want to be good, and I want to save lives. I want to go back to school. Like I go to a classroom, man. I just feel like this is the moment I missed as a kid. But now I'm glad I'm here. And it started with my daughters.
Yeah.
When I raised my daughters, coming from South Africa, it was never easy, because the man has always got this, you know, like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't change diapers. You know, I'm a man. I just keep making children, but I'm not responsible to raise my kids and be there. Most people, they make babies and run away. But for me, my daughters, they taught me something. To see them born and then to raise them from one to now. My oldest son is 36 years. I left him when he was 2 years old with Graceland, because I had a choice to take care of him or you know, but I had to leave him, and because this was my thing that's going to help me now to take care of them.
Right.
But, you know, I stayed as a father, and then I came to America, and then I met my wife. We got 2 children, 2 daughters. They finished college now. They're teaching, my daughters. They're having a great job. And I was an example to them to say, look, I'm here as your father to support you to go to school. I will find the funds to send you to school, because I've never been there. Do this for me and do it for yourself. And my kids, they went, they went distance because they're teaching now.
Yeah, yeah. Do you still have... So you're based in the US now, right?
Yes, I'm based
Philadelphia?
in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania,
yeah,
right.
Just maybe a little bit outside Philadelphia.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a dream come true for you, is it?
My goodness. When I was on the plane, I remember the first time, you know, because it's in the middle of recording the Graceland, and Paul asked if I had a passport or any paperwork. I said, not even a bank statement. I grew up in the township, I don't know what the bank is.
Yeah.
But they wrote the letter for me to go to the immigration or passport department in South Africa. They gave me the traveling document, and once I get on the plane, I was up all night for 17 hours, man. I was standing, just thinking, like, I can't believe, am I dreaming? I keep slapping my face, like, am I dreaming or what? Is this real? Now I'm nervous. Now I'm going to America.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, there's a joy, and then also there's the fear that I'm going to a country where I don't speak English. I didn't even speak English.
You didn't speak English when you came over?
No, sir. I never spoke any. I was always quiet. Even in the studio when we work with Paul, I was always like quiet, smile, and they play something, and then I look at their face, they respond by smiling, and I knew that I got this. But as we're traveling, and I think it was 1986, we went to England, spent, I think, maybe 5 months working on the Graceland tour. And for the first time in England, and the place was so great, I was depressed. Every African was depressed because it was raining and it was cold, and then the snow. We've never seen the snow. We come from Africa.
Yeah.
But for that 5 months, we practiced with Paul, and we started to see the world. That's when I started to see the opportunity, and I said, you know what? Keep learning, because what I thought I knew back then, I didn't know. But now this is another. It's another phase of my, another college kind of thing. But for me, I'm always open to learn. Even when my children are talking to me, I'm always listening. And not just because I'm a father, I'm going to say, no, you don't say that, you say it this way. I always learn and then put it together and say, what did they mean by saying that then? But I'm always learning, and I'll keep learning until I leave this planet, because if you know everything now, good luck. But learning is very important. For me to come to the classroom this morning and work with these kids, they just made my day. And I was even nervous playing for them, because I'm like, I can't believe I'm in the classroom again with the kids, a bunch of kids. This is maybe what God sent me to do, to go and talk to the kids. Not really much playing. My playing, it's another story. But just to be in the classroom and watch these teachers struggling to teach these kids, and it's an honor.
Yeah, it is an honor. And Mitch was saying in the car, I don't think they even have like a music program at that school, do they? There's not much going on there.
Yeah, and I'm against that. I'm against what the school, or it's a superintendent, or what's going on, that they cannot have music or art in the schools, but they can have baseball, basketball, or they can have sports. That's dangerous, that kids get hurt and everything. But music, something that can really help their education. I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Yeah. Creativity is so important, I think, isn't it?
It's important. You can see, like, these kids this morning, they lit up, man, when they saw the ukuleles and the place for that little time that we were there. They were so happy. They came in sad. They were not sure what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, high five, and just like, it was beautiful.
It was beautiful, yeah. It was really lovely. I played, because I'm not really like a performer particularly, but I played at my son's kindergarten. He's like 4 years old.
I knew when you played that to you. You know the children's songs.
I was going to say, I know all the little kiddie songs, yeah. But so they had like a little like sort of end of, summer party. Yeah. And they asked me to come and play for like 20 minutes. And like, I'm not kidding, it was like the happiest I've felt personally in years. Like, I personally got so much out of it. It felt so good, just seeing their smiles, seeing their kind of thinking.
It was so good. It was, and I was emotional. I was trying to hold up by making jokes, and but I was very emotional thinking about, we lost some children in schools because of the shooting that was supposed to be prevented, but they never did, and kids die. And now I'm coming to this classroom and look at these innocent faces. It's like, we need to do something better than this.
Yeah.
You know, our kids, how they're gonna survive? You know, we need, the government needs to change this whole system because it's broken.
It's really bad.
You know, like
it's
somebody
really
can
bad.
walk into a classroom with gun and shoot kids, innocent kids, just because he has his own problem. That cannot happen. You know,
Yeah.
it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, same. I mean, we used to live in LA, and it's actually one of the reasons we went back to England because, like I said, we're bringing up a kid, and we just don't want our kid to be in a place where he could, not come home from school, basically, one day.
I mean, I pray for my daughters because they working with the kids. Like, every day I just want to see them home, and I keep also coaching them like, hey, look, the world is broken. Know your exit when it's time to leave or time to protect yourself. Don't just be aware.
Yeah.
Like I teach my kids even about getting in the car. Before you go to your car, you see who's around because there's a lot of hanging people. You don't know why they're standing there or something. Pay attention. Make sure that your phone is ready to call police or something.
Yeah.
Just stay alert.
Yeah.
We're living in a broken world.
We are. You were talking in the car, and again, it's hard to tell when you're joking sometimes, but you were talking about maybe getting into politics when you sort of...
Yeah, like I wanted to be South African president.
Right.
I would love to.
That's not a joke.
No, that's not a joke. I mean, they're not going to let me, I don't know, because now I became a United States citizen. I'm a citizen now for half of the same year. I was born in South Africa, I would say 33 years ago. I left South Africa and I come here another 33 years to complete both worlds. But my dream is to go back home, fix what's broken because people are kind of shut down because they've never lived the South Africa. So they feel like every day is the same, this is our life. That's how I thought. That's how I felt when I was young until I got an opportunity to get on the plane and leave. And I said, wait a minute, this is not right.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll take that chances. If they give me an opportunity, I'll take it. And I'll make it a better country because it's a beautiful country. We have resources, but we have people who are not educated. They don't even know how to speak to people to say, okay, we have pandemic. What is pandemic? People, they die. Nobody told them about any pandemic. It's like you can't tell people, don't be on the street. You can't go out and then not bring a truck full of granola bars and drop them on the street and say, please eat. Stay home, be safe until we figure out how to give you the medicine. They didn't do that.
They didn't do anything.
I lost my family. I lost my family, because of that. My sister died. She couldn't get help.
Yeah.
And it's very simple. A country that has gold and diamonds, they can do better than that.
Yeah.
But you have a president who marries 10 wives. No, just get 10 schools. The money that you get married 10 wives, you get 10 schools. Give them the education so that they can clean up the country. We have another generation coming up.
Yeah. Man, that's so, I have to say, when we started speaking, I didn't know we were going to talk about any of this stuff, and it's just been, amazing to really hear from, someone with just a completely different background to me, and I really appreciate you.
I'm just even emotional about this, but, it's better to talk about it and not keeping it myself. Now I'm here and I learn the customs here system. But home is home, no matter how you can, how many times or how long you can leave your country. But there's always that love that my grandmother, she's buried in South Africa, my grandfather, my mother, my father, my family. And I'm just here alone now. I got my own family, daughters, and trying to make another life. But in the back of my mind, I always think about these people.
Yeah.
When I eat, I think about... I'm eating, and one of my family members is dying. They don't have food, and I give them money. I get calls 3:00 in the morning, asking money, and I give my family and say, I don't have anything, but I will share this with you, because I'm not gonna take it with me when I die. I'll go alone and I'll leave everything that I'm proud and boasting about. When you're gone, you're gone. Your spirit lives on, but your body and the things that you work for don't mean anything.
Yeah.
So for me, I always think about that, even though I left South Africa a long time. I have a beautiful home. I have beautiful daughters, finished college, and I have 3 grandkids. My son's 3 daughters, 2 daughters and 1 son, a new son. For me, it's about really helping them understand. I cannot bring them here because it's a lot of money. And of course, they cannot handle the system because you have to be born here to understand.
Yeah.
Like my son is 36 years old. If I bring him here, he's going to shut down.
Wait, so he wasn't born in the US? He was born in South Africa, sorry, right?
Born in South Africa. My daughters, they were born here when I married my second wife. Now I have a third wife. They don't live together, but the other one is finished with divorce, my wife. So I got my new fiance that we're working on now.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have a date set for the wedding? Or?
No, no. This is like, we don't want to, because she's been married, and I've been married a couple of times. But we are good friends. We don't need children. She's got 2 kids, a daughter and a son, and I have 3 kids and 3 grandchildren. So we kind of like, let's live a proper life, because once you start getting married, the lawyer is standing on the side waiting for a mistake to happen and then clean somebody's years of work and everything. And she understands that. And the fact that she's not a South African or a black, she's a white, beautiful lady from upstate New York. We even have a problem now, even walking together. I love to hold her hands, but, there's that fear that people looking at us like, what's going on? But she doesn't see it that way. She's just sees me as a good man, and I see her as a good woman. And the reason why she got into my life is because my wife, she left my daughters, and she was just going through some difficulties of herself. And this woman, she steps in and helps my kids with the homework, while my wife, she's going out and drinking with her friends. She'll take care of my kids. And my kids and her kids, they grew up together. But when my wife left me and we divorced, and her husband divorced her, and we started the clean slate.
Oh, okay.
But this one is just like a really good friends.
Yeah.
We're going to live a long time together.
Yeah. So you've known each other a long time?
We've known together for about 15 years now.
Yeah.
I had a house in Long Island. Then I go out on tour with Paul Simon and Sting. Then when I come back, the house was empty. And I was scared to get out of the limo and go to inside the house, because then I felt like, my God, did I lose my family? This is really scary. Grass was not cut. It just looks so terrible, like the driveway. The kids, they're not playing. Usually when I come home, they're riding their bike, and, I'm so happy to see them. But it was quiet. And I tell my driver, don't leave. Let me go inside because I have my key, and then I open. And furniture is gone. The only thing was left was the piano. But everything was gone. And then my daughter's bedroom, there was a note to say, Dad, it's not about you. And I was like, wow. Wow, it's not about me. And And I had to follow the family. I sold my house. Then I followed my daughters because I wanted to make sure that they're safe, because my wife, she took my kids just to get something from me and using my kids as a weapon. But yeah, and I had to sell the house, and I went to Pennsylvania and stayed in a hotel for 5 months so I can see my kids every day, take them to school, and because I didn't trust my wife. Now I didn't know what was coming, because I can get shot or something can happen. They said, "Oh, it's an accident." But she created it because she wanted to get everything that I work for and uses the kids as a weapon. But for me, it's like, hey, look, I grew up in a place where it was very difficult, but I knew how to get around the storm, and not get beat up, not defeated. And so I stayed with the kids until she messed up again. And then she left me with the kids, and the kids, they were happy.
Good. And
So
you got
she's
to
been
keep the
gone
kids,
since then.
right? Yeah.
Huh?
Sorry. Go ahead. You got to keep the kids.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
kids, because I asked them, hey, what do you want to do? You want to stay with mom? They're like, no.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I'm thinking about my job. Now, my kids, they stuck with me, so what am I going to do now? But, this lady, Tammy, she stepped in and she cleaned up my life.
Wow, what a story. What a story, yeah.
But it's all about doing the right things, because, my wife, I could have beat her and then go to jail, and then my life is ruined for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. That's what she wanted me to do, so I can be in trouble. And you don't do that. You don't beat a woman as a man. I mean, like, I've never done that. My children, I always talk to them, and if I feel like they're not listening, then I leave the house. Then come back, maybe take a little, and then come back,
a little breather.
and then I'm calm down.
Yeah. Wow, see, what did I tell you? I told you that I had all these questions for Bakithi about the bass parts on Graceland, the You Can Call Me Al solo, but we don't get into any of that for a long time. I actually recorded this interview the weekend of the Los Angeles International Ukulele Festival, and I suppose I should say a very big thank you to Mitch Chang for making this possible, by the way. And the next day, I saw Bakithi's workshop, and he actually called me up onto the stage to play a couple of songs with him. Diamonds on the Soles of His Shoes and You Can Call Me Al. And believe you me, I was just beaming from ear to ear. That was sort of I can't even say it was a life's goal realized, because I didn't think it was something that would ever happen, but to just find myself playing on stage with a man that I'd grown up listening to was just an incredible moment, and one that I will not soon forget. This guy has seen life, but still has an incredible, positive, warm attitude, and I'm really proud to call him, well, hopefully, a friend now. Just as an aside, going back to what Bakithi was saying a bit earlier in the interview, isn't it disgraceful that a school in California, of all places, has no provisions for teaching music to the kids? Isn't that something we should be helping with? I'm not blaming the school, of course. I went there myself, and I know they are doing absolutely the best they can with the provisions that they do have. But what does it say about our society as a whole, that we value music so little that we don't even bother teaching it to our children? You might remember I spoke to Marlon of the Ukulele Kids Club charity a few months back, and she told me all about how they provide ukuleles for kids in hospital. But perhaps someone needs to set something up to make sure we can actually get music to kids in schools in the first place. I don't know, something about this just doesn't seem right to me. We need to sort this out. But anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox for a minute, because this is a fascinating interview, and as you are finding out, Bakithi is a really warm and open guy, and he still has lots more to say, so I do hope you're enjoying listening to this as much as I enjoyed recording it. Just to say, if you are enjoying the podcast and you want to ensure that it continues, please consider signing up to my Patreon page, patreon.com/uketeacher, at any level. Not only will you be directly supporting the podcast and helping me to travel around and record conversations with some great ukulele players, but you'll also get some great benefits as well, including behind-the-scenes gossip, early access to shows, bonus conversations with some of my guests, including an extra 10 minutes with both Tyler from 10 Thumbs and James Hill. But you'll also get the chance to submit questions for some of my future guests. So if you can jump onto my Patreon and spare a couple of dollars a month, I really would be incredibly grateful. Anyway, for now, let's get on to part 2 of the interview, where we do finally talk a little bit more about the music. Let's get back to me and Bakithi Kumalo. Like I said, I'm just so grateful to you for opening up for me.
Yeah, I'll give you my CD.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I was just listening to your new one on
what you
Apple
hear
Music.
What you hear is what you see.
Yeah. I was. It's good jet lag music, because I was just saying I couldn't sleep last night when I got here, because I've just flown in from England and my body clock's all over the place. And I just put my headphones on. I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is really great for when you're kind of not quite sure what time it is. It's surprising.
It's a journey.
Yeah. It's jazzy, and I think I wasn't expecting it to be quite like that.
Well, it's the influence of everybody, because I didn't want to call myself as a African bass player. I call myself as a musician who can play anything with anybody. You know, I mean, I played with Herbie Hancock, jazz record.
Yeah,
it's called The Gershwin's World. I played like 2 songs, and I played with Randy Brecker, the Brecker brothers, you know, with just amazing people. And I played with, you know, Stevie Wonder, Gloria Estefan, Shaka Khan. You know, I've had some amazing opportunity to play with all these musicians. Mickey Hart, the Grateful Dead, I didn't even know who he was.
Wow, yeah.
And I played with John Phillips, Mamas and Papas, and I played with Eileen Ivers. I went on tour with Eileen Ivers because I'm learning. You know, when people, they call me to play with them, I like to learn. They give me like 15 songs, 20 songs, learn this for the tour. I will learn and then play well as well.
How much freedom do you get when you're learning a song for like a Gloria Estefan or a Grateful Dead? Do they kind of say it's got to be this, or do they say
sometimes, you know, sometimes the music it's planned, there's things they expect from you, but most what they want from me is the tone.
Yeah.
I worked on my tone all my life to get a perfect tone that when I play, it's going to sound good. Just even if I play 2 notes, but because of the good tone, it's going to save my life, you know. So there's directions sometimes they will tell you, but then sometimes I can, you know, do some things. Graceland was very special because we did that in South Africa, some tracks, and it just kind of felt like we were there. You know, it's supposed to happen, that kind of groove. I couldn't play anything different in South Africa because it was Africa, and that's what Paul was looking for. You know, the traditional music.
Yeah.
And so I played different. But, you know, with everybody I adjust. I can adjust to any band.
Yeah.
George Groban. I went out with George Groban, and, you know.
What about, can I just ask about Gloria Estefan, just because she's like a favourite of mine?
Oh, no.
What were you playing of hers? Did you go on tour with her or something?
No, I didn't go on tour. She invited me to come to the studio to record with her. And the album is called The Destiny. The album that I played on. She is the bass player, George. George played some tracks, and then I played some tracks with Gloria. But she just wanted that African feel, the groove, and then also my sound as well.
Yeah.
And
oh wow, what a career!
It was amazing. Yeah. And then after that, I think I played with Derek Trucks and Susan Tadachi. Yeah. And that's like Southern rock and very interesting music.
Yeah. And just on Graceland again, for me, like the bass is like a really big part of the sound of that album. I mean, like it starts off with a Boy in the Bubble.
Yeah.
That's like a bass line you don't forget in a hurry, isn't it?
Yeah. Man, I would say every bass part I played on that record, it was a joy. It was about, man, I can't believe I'm going to be on top of the world. So here's the moment now.
Yeah.
What do I do with the opportunity that I've been given? My thing was to say, look, have the sound, play what's needed. Play simple. Paul doesn't want all the, like, you know, the Jaco Pastores, all the 100,000 speed. No. We needed singing. And for me, I was ready for that. I just needed a gate to open so I can come in.
And how did it work, like compositionally speaking? Did he give you like sort of chord charts or something, and then you fill it in?
No, there was no chord charts, but there was a demo because I think one of the producers from South Africa, Hilton Rosenthal, and he sent Paul the stuff. He was a good friend of Paul Simon, and he sent him the tracks, and Paul liked it, and he's like, "Wow, this music, you know, I'm loving it." So it's Ladysmith Black Mambazo.
Oh, right,
and
okay.
Paul, the vocal of the Ladysmith Black Mambazo just dragged him to that situation. So, and the timing was right. It's not about thinking, oh man, I love this. Maybe I'll do something one day with it. No. For him, he got it, got on the plane, came to South Africa. Now, that's another challenge. Now you come into a country, you don't know, and system. But for him, it was not about that. It was about musicians. coming to us and work with us and give us the gold and the recognition. And, already here, the demo, the Boy in the Bubble, it was one of the group, Sotho group, is called Taya Matsecha. And so when we started with the Boy in the Bubble, which is I played on the original one, but now when we're working with Paul, he wanted another sections or other sections in the song because, Boy in the Bubble, the original, is just like same thing, bam, 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 and then everybody dance. You don't go to the minor, you stay on the major. And Paul is like, okay, we need another section. Da, 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 like when it goes to G and it changed. It changed. We didn't know. Even the guy who was playing the accordion, he was always saying, "What is he doing? I mean, the song is good. Now he's changing it." It's like we didn't know, but finally worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like some magic, right?
Yeah, and all those things, diamonds and the soles of his shoes. Oh my God! I just saw a heaven gate opening. I'm going to heaven. I'm going to play this that the generations they're going to hear it. It was done one time. I couldn't repeat this with anybody, with other people. It was just that time.
In the studio,
and I played it, and I left it alone, and then go and tour because people, they wanted to see the guy who played. I remember when we played in England, man, I was so scared. The crowd, he was coming closer to the stage as we playing Call Me Out. And they waiting for the bass solo, like, we're going to see if it's him. I mean, I played 2 notes, and then the whole stadium was screaming, and I was making mistakes because it's like, oh, they can't hear it. They happy, we had to play it again, But, it was a timing, and I feel like I was very, very lucky to be part of this, and I took it. I was not nervous when I came to New York the first time. I was just so happy, like I'm there. Remember one time I was eating the pizza at 4 o'clock in the morning in New York. And I'm like, 4 o'clock in the morning in South Africa, everybody's snoring. And here I am, I'm in like Times Square, 48th and 8th Avenue. Eating.
The city that never sleeps.
Yeah, never sleeps, like there was all kinds of stuff, places where you put a quarter and all kinds of things happen. But I knew, I said, you know what, it's going to be hard for me to go back to South Africa.
Yeah.
And of course, I was a big bone of that record that Paulie couldn't, I don't know, I don't think he could have done by, another bass player to duplicate that,
Yeah.
And so I was very fortunate, and I was very lucky that he gave me the opportunity and he kept me. And
that's amazing. Like, what a story. And so, I guess to bring it back to today, we're here for the Los Angeles Ukulele Festival.
Yes.
What are you doing now with the ukulele? Is that like your new thing? Are you getting into the U-bass or something? What's happening with that?
Ukulele, I was introduced to the ukulele. I met a good friend of mine, Rick Carlson, used to work for Kala. And then we were at the NAMM show. This is like, probably 12, 13 years ago. And he says, hey, I work for this company, and check out these basses. He gives me the ukulele, and then I play, and I'm like, man. And now we came up with a Bakithi Kumalo signature bass with a shield. This shield, that's my logo. For,
the shield logo.
South African American. Yeah. And the ukulele, they sound amazing. And so... the Ukulele Festival is not the first time. I was here before because of Carla as well. So I was representing Carla, and then now I'm back again. And of course, Mitchell Chang is an amazing person, for him to invite us, to do this. And I'm just so grateful. And even to know you, John.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. And the other people, Brittany and
Andrew,
it's just amazing.
Yeah, no, it's been like we've only been here a few hours, but it's been just such a great morning already, hasn't it? Going to the school and the opportunities we've got tomorrow.
The night was crazy, but the morning was better.
The less said about that, the better, though, maybe.
Yeah.
But, Yeah, so what are you going to be doing tomorrow? Because the main festival is tomorrow. Are you doing a concert or a workshop or?
Doing a concert, it's not, as a bass player,
Yeah, right,
you can do
yeah.
that with the ukulele, playing chords and singing, people are singing. But the bass, I play one song and the second song is going to sound the same because where to go?
Yeah,
And I'm playing my
yeah.
fretless but we'll see how we're going to run things. My thing is to just be there in the room, hold my bass and talk about my life story.
Yeah.
Because really there's nothing for me to prove, and I have a band, I have a group called South African All Stars that I can bring them to places, but it's economy is bad. I can't bring anybody, and I have Bakithi Kumalo's record from What You Hear Is What You See, but I can't bring them too because it's expensive to bring people. Now I'm coming as telling my story.
Telling your story, which is what you've been doing here, which has been amazing.
Yeah, so my thing is going to be story, and then I can play, and people can ask me about Call Me Out or whatever the songs, and then we can, I can teach them to play the songs, and then hopefully Brittany and Andrew, they'll join me.
Yeah. I guess we'll wrap it up in a second. I just had one or two really quick ones I was going to ask you, but you've sort of covered most of what I was going to say, honestly. But what you were saying just now about, my name is Al. I don't know if you noticed, I haven't asked you about that solo, because I figured probably everyone's going to ask you about that. But there was one thing I was going to tell you about it. I saw Train. Have you heard of the band Train? They did like Meet Virginia and Hey Soul Sister.
Yes.
Yeah, Hey Soul Sister, right? Yeah. I saw them live at the Hollywood Bowl a couple of years ago, and they played Al. They played You Can Call Me Al as like a cover of it, and the guy did the bass solo and everything like really well. Like really well, I mean, maybe you wouldn't think so if you saw it, but I thought it was like amazing. And like it's such a sort of iconic solo. At the end of the song, the singer just said, "Hey man, let's just all shut up, just play that bass bit again." And it just played the bass solo on its own, not even as part of the song, for the whole of the Hollywood Bowl. And and everyone loved it as well, So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really makes me happy that I hear a lot of players, they play, and then sometimes I see them on YouTube, and then I give them the thumbs up because it's like, I just feel so honored, so grateful that bass players, they're going to learn my stuff, I mean, I didn't expect that, but when they're doing it, I really love what they're doing. And then sometimes others, they contact me because I'm easy reach, I'm not... I don't claim this like, I can be hide. People, they cannot talk to me, they cannot see me. I'm not that person. I came from a humble place, and I'm going to go all the way with my humble. Like, people can call me and say, hey, can you teach me how to play that? Yeah, definitely. Let's stay on the Zoom or whatever, let's work on it.
Wow. Well, that's what I was going to ask you, actually, is are you on sort of social media at all? Can people follow you exactly? Or?
Well, I have a social media assistant who does all my social stuff. Because me, I can't stand, I just want to sleep at night. I can't be like, responding to people in California or South Africa. But, my social media person, she always send, newsletters to people to say, hey, look, Bakithi's got a new album. And everybody goes in. And then sometimes Carla, Ukulele, they do something. Or Phil Jones, I'm going to be doing a bass, I'm a judge for the bass contest in New York on November 4th. Like, bass players, they're going to play in front of me and then tell them, if they're good or not.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, man, I guess I've graduated now. That's what I want to think about. Yeah. Not to play or travel, because even my health is not agreeing with me now as 66, and I'm starting to have some shoulder problems. Like, is
that from carrying the bass? Playing the bass and stuff, you think?
Part of it's carrying the bass or playing the double bass, because I'm like this. Sometimes for a while, playing and then carrying stuff. But what started this pain, it was when I was shoveling the snow, I think maybe about 3 years ago. We had like a big snow, and I live in an apartment back then. So when they plow the snow, they just drop them on my driveway, so I can't get out. And then 3 days later, the snow is hard.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to like really shovel the snow, and I feel something like, it kind of pop.
Oh no.
But it's not broken. It's just that I gotta work on it. Like right now, I'm in the physical therapy, and then also diabetes. I was diagnosed with diabetes. So there's a lot of stuff. I take pills before I go to bed. So I feel like it's time to slow down now. I've had everything I wanted. I play all over the world, and I play the heck out of the bass.
Yeah.
It's time to let go,
Yeah.
and then stay home and teach kids. Now I do this music mentors. I just finished one in Pennsylvania. It was 5 days music mentors. Kids, they come from different schools because I want to create a community of musicians, and then also cut down this bullying that's going on in schools. So we get the kids.
Bullying. Bullying.
The bullying, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So we got all these kids coming from different schools. They don't know each other, but when they get to the room, they want family.
Yeah.
So I work with them for about 5 days, and after that we perform the show. They cry when they left because that was a great moment to work with them.
Oh wow.
Now I'm back in Long Island, where I started with the kids 5 years ago. I started the music mentors. Got these kids for 7 weeks, practice with them every day, teach them the science about the instrument. Like, don't play if your sound is terrible, because it's going to make you sound bad, even if you play good.
Yeah.
But your sound is terrible. So let's take a look at the amps, all these knobs, what this means, what is your bass knobs means. Let's fix that until the kid get it. And then every day, I see the kids, they're working the drummer, and I bring the drum friend and say, listen, help this young drummer to tune the drums so that they all sound good. Because now when we play the song, everybody is good.
Yeah.
And these kids, they loved it for 7 weeks. And then the last part of that 7 weeks, we did a show. And now they're playing with some big speakers. And I said, now go have fun. Don't be nervous, or what about your mom is watching you or your dad. Just go play. Because if that's what you're going to do, you got to go all the way. You got to know it's not just playing, but it's about understanding the science. Because you're going to become a future builder if you really understand the tones of this. It's not just playing, making money, and getting on the planes. No, it's about the long distance if you want to do this. Already your parents, they buy you some instruments that cost a lot of money.
Right.
So you need to do something with that. And then sometimes I find them gigs. Because
I
can talk to like a hotel and say, can you give us the lobby for the kids to play from 3 to 6? Let them have fun, because the more they play, they get loose.
That's cool, yeah.
So that's my music therapy that I do, music mentors, which is I'm hoping that if I can get support and funding, I can go to any part of the world, get kids for 7 weeks, let's play some music, let's heal, because it's a healing.
Yeah.
It healed me. It saved me. Now it's my time for me to save them.
Wow, amazing. Bakithi, thank you so much. That's been brilliant. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, I need to stop gushing over this one, but seriously, what a guy. After enjoying everything that music has brought into his life, he's now spending his days trying to pass on these gifts to today's youngsters, setting up his own music camps and workshops to pay forward his own good fortune. A really inspirational story and a great chat with one of the best, Bakithi Kumalo. Again, a big thanks to Bakithi for spending so much time with me and really being open to talking about absolutely anything. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Also, another very big thank you as well to Mitchell Chang, who put together the Los Angeles International Ukulele Festival, which basically made this interview possible. So thanks again to you, Mitch. This has been a really long episode, but before I do go, I have one very quick story I want to share with you before I go. On September the 23rd, 5 years ago, I played You Can Call Me Al on the ukulele at one of my best friend's wedding with a wedding band that incredibly featured Dan Hickey, the drummer or former drummer of They Might Be Giants. And bizarrely enough, 5 years later, to the day, I find myself in a hotel room in California playing the same song, this time with the actual bass player who played on the original record itself. I don't know what it is about the song You Can Call Me Al and the date September the 23rd, but I can't wait to find out who I'll be playing it with in 2027. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please go and download some of the older episodes from the archive. We've got chats with Tyler from 10 Thumbs, Bernadette Teaches Music, Mandy from Ukulele, James Hill, Jake Shimabukuru, and many, many others. There is literally hours of great entertainment for free up there for you right now. Also, I would be really grateful if you would consider sharing it with your friends, families, and ideally your ukulele communities. I'm really, really proud of this work, and I would love for it to reach as big an audience as possible. Anyway, I'll be back again next week with some more great ukulele tales for you. But for now, until next time, I love you all, and I wish you the best.